of that year. However, in 1917, the United States joined World War I. Mather and Albright had to fight hard not to lose land, especially forests, to the war effort. Mather's job was busy and intense. His job was to keep the national parks maintained for the future generations, as well as for generations of their time. To set apart the parks for the use, observation, health, and use and pleasure of the people, and keep in mind that the national interest must dictate all decisions affecting public or private enterprises in the parks. Mather successfully kept all three of these goals in mind while presiding over the National Park Service for 12 years. It has been a satisfying career. The National Park Service has done for America, I believe, than any act of Congress in the past 20 years. The national parks have boosted the economy by providing jobs to help this system run smoothly. More people are traveling, so the railroads are making more money. Many small towns around the parks have sprung up to accommodate the park visitors. A general resurgence of nationalism has occurred in America since World War I, and I believe that the national parks have had some impact in that resurgence. After World War I, soldiers were welcomed in the national parks and experienced a sense of pride in the nation that they had sacrificed so much for. I, too, have often found refuge in the national parks during bouts of depression. America is one of the few nations in the world with land set aside for the benefit and enjoyment of the people, and our philosophy of land preservation is influencing other countries to do the same. I am proud of that fact. The legacy that Stephen Mather's creation of the National Park Service lasted so much longer than his life. Mather preached preservation, and America listened. The national parks bring visitors from around the world every year, which boosts the economy in so many ways. However, not all people have supported the way that the national parks operate. Some people say that tourism in the national parks wears down the environment. This may be true, but it would be impossible to hide America's natural wonders from you and from the rest of the world. And so the National Park Service was created to preserve the land as well as best as possible. In past years, a few Americans have even called for the closure of the national parks because they required too much upkeep and money. However, the parks have remained open, and Americans and international visitors have benefited from the tranquil beauty of the parks. Stephen Mather is the reason for all of this. If he had not advertised the parks, traveled all over the country, paid salaries, and unified the parks under one agency, the national parks would not be what they are today. The United States of America owes a great amount of respect and appreciation to the man who brought all of the parks together, Stephen Mather. Good evening and welcome to Yosemite National Park. Tonight's Ranger Talk is titled The Leadership and Legacy of Stephen Mather. Who was Stephen Mather, you ask? Well, he fought for the ground that you are currently standing on. 143 years ago, the first national park, Yellowstone, was created. This great monument of land preservation is very important to our nation's history. But perhaps the people who helped this idea grow and flourish are just as important to America as the land itself. Arguably the most important person is Stephen Mather, a man who became a millionaire by his 40s, yet struggled with depression, and most importantly, loved America and its beauties. Stephen Mather safely led the National Park Service through its first years of administration by paying salaries and buying land out of his own personal wallet, advertising what the parks had to offer, and bringing the parks together to become one unified service. The legacy that Mather left almost 100 years ago allows every American and international visitor to enjoy the beauty of the national parks with the help of the National Park Service. Stephen Mather was born in California on July 4, 1867. He became a millionaire by starting the highly successful Thorkelson Mather Borax Company. Mather had always appreciated the beauty of nature and wanted to preserve it, and so he joined the Sierra Club, a club created by John Muir to save the national parks. Years later, Mather met Muir, who completely absorbed Mather in the cause for the national parks. In 1915, the Secretary of the Interior, Franklin Lane, offered Mather a job to come and run the national parks, though there wasn't a unified service just yet. Mather's political connections, along with his wealth and outgoing personality, would serve him well in his new job. Horace Albright, Mather's assistant, and Mather argued that the parks were too separate and disorganized. For example, Yellowstone was run by the Army, and many other parks were run by their separate state governments. A unified park service was needed, but preservation of land was such a new concept. Was it even possible for Albright and Mather to protect the national parks, while at the same time using the national parks for the enjoyment of the people? Try to put yourself in their place. What would you have done with so much uncertainty? Mather's job was to convince Washington, D.C. that his new federal agency, the National Park Service, was worth the time and money. We did it. Congress has passed our bill to create a federal agency solely devoted to the national parks. What a long road it has been. We ran into roadblocks right away because to create a working service, we needed public support and publicity. Lots of it. We tried many ways to accomplish our goal. The best was probably this National Parks portfolio, a pamphlet composed of pictures and pamphlets from the various parks. Another source of our publicity was the campaign, See America First. Crazy New Englanders were paying exorbitant sums of money every summer to see Europe without even knowing about the beauties of America. During that same year, I had the opportunity to take many politically influential men to the Sequoia and Yellowstone National Parks. I still remember what I said to them on that last night. I hope you'll see the significance of these mountains and the whole picture of what we are trying to do. Hopefully you will take this message and spread it throughout the land. These valleys and heights of the Sierra Nevada are just one small part of the majesty of America. Just think of the vast areas of our land that should be preserved for the future. Think of the Grand Canyon of the Colorado and the wonders in our territories in Alaska and Hawaii. But unless we can protect these lands with a separate government agency, we may lose them to selfish interests. And we need this bureau to enhance and enlarge our public lands to preserve infinitely more for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. I believe that these men's resulting hard work had a great influence on the establishment of the National Park Service. Even National Geographic featured the national parks